The third show in this year's season of Theatre for Children is Aston Stones by a company from Sweden.
That's right, Aston Stones by Teater Pero from Sweden is our show for early years.
Kolla Astons blick. Den skär rakt genom luften. Den landade rakt på hans andra sten.
This piece is very close to my heart because I saw this piece of theatre just shortly after I'd started working in the Arc in 2012 at the Teater Festival in Edinburgh, and I've been talking to the company ever since and trying to get them over for 4 years, and that'll tell you how good the piece is, that I haven't given up on it.
Because it's so in demand, it's touring a lot otherwise.
It's touring. Every time I went to try and contact them, they were touring either in Sweden or internationally, or touring other work, because this company, Teater Pero, they'd be one of the leading companies in Sweden.
What else do you know about them?
They've a number of other productions that they do. They do a lot of work for children, and they're really popular in Sweden, and they've travelled a lot internationally as well. And the movement is a large part of the work that they do. And one of my first loves is physical theatre. So there's a lot of physical theatre bordering on clowning within this piece, and there's a lot of music as well. So that's the
and
company
again,
they
even
are.
though it's from Sweden, it's being performed in English.
It's been performed in English, and
with lovely Swedish accents.
With great accents and a great sensibility. You can tell, like, there's a difference in the performances that we see from other countries.
Sorry to interrupt you. Interestingly, there are 3 shows from the Nordic countries in the rest of the programme this year, as well as music from Finland in Michael Keegan Dolan's Swan Lake. So that's a happy connection.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit more about the show, though.
Yeah, so this is a beautiful story. So it actually, the characters, there's 3 performers, and they play a family of dogs, and Aston is a young puppy. And when he goes out every day with his mother getting food for the family, he comes across a stone one day that he thinks is lonely, and he decides he wants to bring the stone home. And then he starts seeing stones everywhere, and one is cold, and one is nervous, and one is scared, and one is lonely, and he brings all the stones home, and slowly this family, their home is being taken over by all the stones Aston has. So his parents are trying to convince him that maybe he doesn't need to bring home every stone, and they come up with an idea. We'll bring him to the beach, the beach that's covered in stones, and we'll tell him that that's where the stones live, and could we bring all the stones to live there. And they take Aston to the beach. He sees all the stones living on the beach happily, and decides that all his stones from home could go and live there. And he takes them all down to the beach, and they're leaving them all on the beach, and the parents are delighted that they've cleared their house of all these stones. And just as they're going home, Aston picks up something, and they go, "What's that, Aston?" He goes, "Oh, a stick." And you get the impression that it's all about to start all over again. But again, done with loads of movement. There's other elements running through the story. There's lots of physical movement, as I said. But there's also elements of the story, little in-jokes in it that parents will get that might go over the heads of the children. So a whole family will enjoy this. Aston Stones actually is the production that we have the relaxed performance of, or the autism-friendly performance.
And what does a relaxed performance involve?
So this is something that I came across that they were producing in Polka Theatre in London, and it's to allow for children who are on the autism spectrum, who have difficulties in coming into communal spaces or spaces where there's a lot of noise or light. So it's to make theatre accessible for people on the autism spectrum. And what we do is we try and reduce or remove any of the elements that are difficult for those families. So we will leave the doors of the theatre open so they don't feel trapped in an enclosed space. We will leave the house lights down low as opposed to turning them off completely so the place doesn't go dark. We will talk to the company involved, and if there's any sudden movement or very loud noises or flashing light, we will adjust that so that doesn't happen in the space. But one of the primary things that we do, and this was difficult for me as a theatre producer and programmer, is we tell them exactly what's going to happen.
Okay.
And the way it was described to me was, normally in theatre we like to have the element of surprise. For children on the autism spectrum, you need to remove all the surprises.
And do you tell everybody before the show, or just the people who are accessing the performance?
You have the option to know what's going to happen, and the way we do it is in a pack, which is called a social story, and families who have children on the spectrum would be very familiar with these. So we have an information pack that's available on our website for download, and it shows you where the theatre is, where the toilets are, what the costumes look like, what the story of the show is, how you're going to get your tickets. It gives you everything you need to know about your experience on the day in the theatre, and that will make it easier for children to, when they know what to expect and what's going to happen, they can relax and enjoy the performance. But I've found the biggest thing, we've been running these for a number of years now, which started in the Dublin Theatre Festival. The biggest thing is that on that day, everybody in the theatre, from the front of house to the box office to the performers to the other audience members, we all know that this is a relaxed performance, and we allow anything to happen. Anything could happen, anything will happen, and everybody just works with that. So a family know that if their child acts out or has a difficulty or is upset, we all know what's going on, and we allow for that, and we work with that family with whatever their needs are in that
Although
moment.
it's probably much less likely to happen because of the steps you've taken.
Because of that, we found it rarely happens. But there's been lovely feedback from families who have attended performances, and there was one family in the States who attended a performance, and they were saying, you know, thank you very much for providing this performance for our family. Unfortunately, after 30 minutes we had to leave because our son was getting agitated at the performance. But they said, but that's 29 minutes longer than we've lasted at anything else. So you realise that for that family, that experience is very important, and just recognising where people are at and meeting them where they are is something that we can provide fairly easily, but it makes a massive difference to that family.